On this episode of On the Bridge, I'm talking with Claire Hagen from This Is Odyssey Agency. It's a really interesting conversation. We go over many aspects of AI and marketing in the yachting industry. Not an episode to be missed. Welcome, Claire. Thank you for joining me in this amazing studio, Paragon Studio in London. Okay, we have got a lot to talk
Oh, God.
This conversation I've been trying to have with you for months. I finally pinned you down. So we're going to get started. You are very well known in the super yacht industry as one of the most progressive marketers, if not the most progressive. Storytelling, AI-led content. You've worked with the biggest brands, shipyards, management companies. Let's start at the beginning. I mean, we could go back.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How did you end up where you are today?
So I actually owned an agency called Electric Foxes, which was basically out of the idea of I went into hotel marketing and I opened like 18, I think, in the end, restaurants and hotels as their sort of social media, digital person, did like as a contractor. So and then I made a little agency. It was called Electric Foxes, and in that I also had Penguin Books as a client. And I hadn't had a holiday in like 5 years. And then I met a boy, and then I was like,
As every
I don't,
story starts.
yeah. And then I didn't want to work all these crazy hours. So I'd never had really an in-house job in some way. I'd had obviously retail jobs when I was younger, and then an ad agency job. And then I was lucky enough to have enough people who wanted me as a freelancer, and then
Sure.
kind of grew, which I was super young, right? I had more money than sense, I think, at one point, to the point I was like, oh, it's easy. And then realized it's actually not easy. Now, I was just quite lucky at the start. And then anyway, so I made the decision to resign to my clients. They all thought I was mad. I think everyone was like, what the hell? And I said I was going to get an in-house job. And because the majority of the stuff I saw was social media based,
Yeah.
whether it was editing or design or web. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to a recruiter. And they came back and I had 3 job offers. One was with Boat International, one was with Peppa Pig, and one was with the Ivy Collection. So it was a mixed bag.
Yeah, I was going to
And
say,
this
that's a
was
very mixed
a
industry.
few weeks before the pandemic. And my boyfriend at the time was into boats. I didn't even want to take the boat job because I don't like the water. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go for the interview. Oh, you'll be amazing, the people you meet. I'm like, I was thinking, I kind of want to go Peppa Pig, even though I've got no kids and stuff. But then I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll get Barbie, and then I'll go in the toy world, and it'll be exciting. Anyway, so in the end, to keep the boy happy, I went, do you know what? I'll take the boat job. Okay. So I spent about 2 weeks in the office, and then we went into the pandemic. So it was like, oh, hello, and then goodbye to like,
You
and
knew
then
nothing about boats before?
no, nothing.
So you
I
had
couldn't
literally
even tell
2
you.
weeks to...
I couldn't, to the point of Johnny's, he was like, what's left, what's right, what's put? And I was like, oh, God, Johnny, come on. You got to know these things. And I was like, oh. Anyway, so it was quite a, oh, God. And then we're all remote.
Yeah.
And then I became one of the most insignificant people in the company to one of the most important, because obviously with the pandemic, digital became, and social was my job. And then, just it kind of become this whirlwind of how yachting just was. Obviously, everyone was like, oh, I want to get to a boat, sort of, zombie movie style.
Yeah.
And it was the first time, I think, Google search boat was in the top 10, because everyone had to say, oh, we need to get to a boat.
Let's
something.
isolate on
And
a
obviously
boat.
our industry
Yeah.
did very well out of it. And I think then I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually quite good at this. And, and generally my stance on marketing is that if you're good at marketing, you can market anything. It's just about knowing who you're marketing to, and then, working out the campaign and the location points. And if anything, this niche level is obviously good when you're looking at technical. And like you said, you didn't know anything. Yeah, but I'm not building boats, and I'm also not managing them. I trust that the people I work with know that. And then, I can then kind of, okay, but psychologically and then trying to get it out of them, what's important, what's impressive to the market.
And with a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah. And it was the first time that anyone had ever done Insta stories at BI. No one was doing Insta stories before, which I thought was bizarre.
Yeah.
So I started designing articles for the Insta stories, and then I came up with a virtual boat show with the editor at the time, digital editor, and it was like, oh, isn't this all? So I realized it was very old school. And then the approach to data of auditing and creating funnels was like alien, still is, to a lot of people. But in the hotel industry, it's so important.
Yeah.
Like, knowing your partners of your booking.coms and Expedias,
Yeah.
um, was something that was totally. So I was like, oh, I can probably change a lot here. So that's why I've stayed in it. Um, Out of that, just it's be disruptive and hopefully
Make a
piss
difference.
people off,
Yeah.
and which
So
is
you
fine.
saw then when you went into that role, you saw actually I could do some
Yeah,
pretty good work here
yeah,
because things are pretty old fashioned or they're
yeah,
not making the most of things. So you saw actually for your own career, this is a
yeah,
pretty good opportunity to really make a difference and do some good work.
yeah. And in an ego way, you're like, oh, everyone thinks I'm a genius, but I don't think I'm that smart. I think it's just that everyone's so behind, and I've got access to Google.
Well,
I
great
don't
thing
know.
about
I was always like, am I saying something, or is this? I don't know. But yeah, no. And then I got poached by Fraser, which is another almost I thought I knew, and then you're in like broker territory.
So
And
you think you
actually,
got headhunted basically because they could see that at Boat International you had started to create
yeah,
content material and just totally fresh from what had been used before.
yeah. And I mean, the reason why they have a podcast is because I went and said, no, you need to have a podcast. This
Yeah.
is crazy, and it was quite push. But I also think that it people also like, oh, we've done it this way, not just in general, like, and I think working with Fraser was another different way of changing how people are doing things. And
Mm.
I loved working with the sales brokers. And that's for someone in marketing is shocking. I was like, what, you like sales brokers? I was like, yeah, because there's a lot of assumptions you can make. And like we were talking about data earlier
Mm.
before we sat down, you know, if you look at most data that's around ultra high net worths, it's based on a pool of family office data.
Yeah.
But if you know clients, they're so busy they don't look at their emails, and that's why they have a PA or whatever. So you're not really getting a survey of the client per se.
No.
You're getting the people that work them, their assumptions and feelings. But when you talk
Yeah.
to a sales broker who's maybe in touch with the client themselves,
Directly. Yeah.
you can get a lot more and then sort of do your own. Okay, I asked 10 brokers
Mm.
this, and this is actually probably more nearer to the truth than reading some of these broader sort of, surveys.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, looking at real hardcore data about public perception on yachting. So people will tell you about, the sanctions was a huge negative thing.
Mm.
Not really, actually, on
Yeah.
the whole scale, because the sad thing that I realised that when you look at data from news is that the average Joe reads reality TV,
Yeah.
doesn't care about the world
No,
like
sure.
we. So
No.
the
And they
data.
use TikTok to find out the news, and most of that's not
And
true anyway.
it's,
So.
yeah, and so the average Joe on the street, doesn't care
Mm.
about the sanction in some way,
Yeah, yeah.
because
So the
it
brokers
doesn't
then
really.
gave you access to more data directly from the client. So you
Yeah,
could actually get to know the
yeah,
clients far better than any of the historical data
mm,
that the magazine or the brokerage house had. So then that opened up your eyes to even
yeah,
more
yeah,
because you're like, oh, actually, the clients that we're working with are not historically who perhaps
yeah,
we've been thinking we're marketing to.
yeah. And
Interesting.
then the other thing is that people think that suddenly you got money, you change your basic instincts, like
Mm.
you're almost an alien, when actually you're not. You're just, if I find something cool, 9 times out of 10, someone just with a bigger bank account than me
Yeah.
finds it cool too.
Yeah.
And then I think the biggest shift in marketing from a global level is the fact that this is the first time on sort of recording of how marketing is impacting humanity that we have to not think of a one tagline perception. It's three. And why is it three? Because the younger generation are so different.
Yeah.
Um, and, any generation would have said that about their younger generation, but no, they're actually, different value sets,
Hmm.
different ways to communicate, so that anyone millennial and above, so anyone that's 29 and over, I'm more aligned to someone older than me than I am aligned to someone younger.
Younger.
So when you look at marketing, you have to go, okay, we still print stuff for this, but then we still do social for this. And it necessarily doesn't need to be the same. And
Yeah.
you need to know as a brand sort of three things,
Mm.
because there's a crossover of that confused sort of millennial sort of
Mm.
thing, but generally, at least having two different marketing strategies to their markets
Yeah, even the
is
way that
better.
we look at money. My generation, when I was growing up, if you knew someone extremely wealthy, you didn't talk about money. They
Yeah,
were just the wealthy
yeah,
person. Now, if you're 25 and you're a millionaire, you're talking about it on TikTok. You're sharing it. Everyone's celebrating you. We
mm,
didn't celebrate wealthy people. They were sort of like a different societal class. You didn't, oh, there's the wealthy person. Now, on TikTok, everyone's sharing how much money they make. So it's
yeah,
totally different, even how we talk about money, isn't it?
yeah, and also the value of your own self-esteem, because I think what's really changed is, when I grew up, I liked boy bands and followed film stars and I admired them, and now in the news, billionaires are shown as
Yeah.
the sort of the big celebrities of the day, and I couldn't tell you a single,
Yeah.
Bill Gates. Obviously, I know who he is, but when it's kind of the obsession of
Yeah.
wealth in media, and not, the CEOs of these companies are also becoming more of a figure,
Yeah.
like the film
But you're not
stars of the
putting
50s.
pictures of them on
No,
your bedroom
but
wall,
well, I
or
think
the
some
kids
people
aren't.
probably are. I don't know. I
There
think
goes
there's a
Bill Gates on
fascination.
someone's wall.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a fascination in a different way, in their own way,
Yeah.
of being wealthy as a sign of, what we would say is good looking, and
Yeah, and success.
yeah. So I think that there's a real stronger bond with that.
Definitely.
And
So to go back to your career then, so from Frasers, how did you then end up becoming freelance, I suppose you could say, or working for yourself?
so it got to a point where Fraser were letting me sort of do bits on the side for the brokers, because it got to a point where, as they'd paid me for, and I became like, brokers are like, Claire, 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay, because I do see them still to this day as
Yeah.
family, and they're still clients of mine. And then I just thought, "Do you know what? It's time. I've learnt my sort of thing, and there were sort of changes, and yeah, and then I went freelance, and I've pretty much stayed with the same clients since then. I can't, unfortunately, take on more, which I always
I
think.
know, annoying. 'Cause I would like
And I
to do
try to, and then I
those.
piss people off, 'cause and I've had this roller coaster of, basically, before the pandemic. I had an agency that was very
Yeah,
successful,
you've gone full circle.
and then I tried to hire people and got frustrated because I couldn't find
Mhm.
people, then gave up, then worked loads of hours, then had no holiday for 5 years, and then now I've come back round. So I was like, well, I don't know if
We are working on cloning you, though, aren't
Yeah.
we? We've talked about it.
And it's not. I think it's because people go, oh, but I don't want them in the meeting. I want you, you in the meeting. You want your opinion, and it's when you hire a marketer for their
Yeah.
individual look on something. It's not that someone couldn't do it. They can, of course, design it. But I think I've got that personal relationship with my
Yeah.
clients that they'd find it weird if someone else turned up to the meeting, or they're like, oh, Claire can't be asked,
Yeah. That's a
mentality.
difficult thing also.
That's really hard.
If you are the center of the business and you want to hire people in, you have to train them to basically think like you, and no one will ever think like you.
Yeah.
They might think that they think like you, but they don't. So ultimately, the client isn't getting you. They're getting sort of a tapered down version, aren't they?
Yeah.
If they really want you, then, well, they just have to pay for it, won't they?
Yeah. And then it's hard to negotiate after, like, yeah, I'm kind of in demand now. Like, what? What do you mean you're in demand? All the people call me,
Yeah.
They're like, but I say
Including
no.
voice messaging you.
But
But that's amazing that you've still got some of those first clients. You've got those relationships. And it's a lovely position to be in. But also from a personal side, you have to manage that it doesn't
yeah,
become that same situation where work just takes over and then you don't have a personal life, which ultimately is what happens when you work for yourself. And that's difficult, isn't it? To
yeah,
know when to sort of draw the line.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always think to myself, people talk about work-life balance, but I don't think I've ever had that. But I think also that's a choice that I made, right?
I don't think balance is the correct word ever
Yeah,
used. I always say there's a blend. So some days I've got a child, I'm a better mother and I'm a better
yeah,
partner. And then other days I have serious guilt that I'm a better
yeah.
COO. And that's just how it is. And when you work for yourself, unfortunately, that's it. But
And you wouldn't have it any other way.
well, I don't know. I don't know if I can see myself still like this when I'm 60, but definitely at the moment, if you love your job, then
Oh, I
for
love it. I
me,
couldn't do it.
and actually getting up every morning, it's part of who I am. And I know probably a therapist would say you shouldn't value your person against the role you do, but why not if it brings you joy? I get up in the morning, I'm
I
so
love it.
driven, I want to try new things, I want to be better, I want the company to be better. I don't see that as a bad thing. In fact, I think if you don't have that, that there's a huge hole missing in you to what is your purpose.
No, no, no.
So, okay, like we said, we could talk for
Yeah.
hours, right? Okay, so what have been some of the biggest, most daring, or proudest campaigns you've completed and why?
I think working for someone like Richard Branson was a pretty big deal for me.
Yeah.
I launched his book. That was really cool.
Wow.
And it's gone back circle because now I'm doing bits for the island.
Brilliant.
So it's been nice. And I think he's been always a marketing legend to me
Yeah.
and someone I've inspired. And then, seeing just the way he is and having control of his social media was quite scary.
Yeah.
And also sort of the amount of messages and comments they get, no one will ever understand unless you manage a high profile
Really?
account.
I can imagine there's a real mix.
It's asking for money all the time.
Oh, no,
Yeah, but
really?
because you just see it in the comment section.
Yeah.
It's just the comments alone. People are pitching.
Mm.
Um, and a lot of profiles, a lot of A-listers, they don't have any contact with their profiles.
No, sure.
I mean, some are obviously logged in, but I think what I did learn dealing with just in general people in the public eye is that it's not mentally you cannot do that
No,
because there's so
sure.
much negative whoever you are.
Yeah.
And I think that was a cool one, and I think also just I don't know, like there's some hotel stuff I've done. I was known as like the gimmick person, so we've done everything from most expensive cookie I did, which was 70 quid per cookie and sold out. We did the largest, ostrich egg breakfast. I did all the gimmicks, you name it. I've done
For the
Hose
hotels.
Hotel, all of these gimmicks, like this, because it started off with like, what can we make go viral on Insta,
Yeah.
and then sit with the chef and go, so what ingredient on the plate could we, you know, the world's biggest pizza, or
Yeah.
can we get a rare sausage or
But
something
that's
like
so fun,
just
though,
'cause-
actually, to think of
yeah,
something so different.
and it
Just,
works.
yeah,
People
of
come.
course. Yeah.
People come for the ostrich egg breakfast and then don't eat the breakfast. They
Yeah,
just
they
take the
just
picture
come
and
for the
leave,
picture.
which is kind of sad when you start going, oh, no one even bothered.
And did they eat the cookie, the 70-pound cookie?
I was shocked when my friend came to me and was like, Claire, we need an idea of my cookie business. I mean, she'll be okay for me to say it was basically going to go bust. And I was like,
Oh,
I was like, well, why don't we just say let's just get some gold flakes and let's just roll with it. You've got this Harrods thing and the cookie's good, and we sort of did it, and then she sold the company, so the value of
that's
the company.
amazing.
So yeah, she owes me a favor. So if you're watching this, she does owe me a favor
I'm looking
still.
for some cookies for Christmas.
But
Oh,
it
that's a
was
great story. So
yeah.
that she came to you obviously with a great business
And no money.
idea,
We did it
but
with no money.
yeah,
I sent it to because people press love this
something different.
yeah. And then
Mm.
the fact that people paid 70 quid for a cookie was pretty ridiculous.
Thank God for them.
Oh.
Otherwise, her business would have gone bust.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, in value is like the story, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
think back to the yachting. When I first pitched to one of the people I've worked with, I said I think people, if they're buying a yacht, partly they buy it because they want to tell a story about why they bought the yacht.
Yeah.
And I think when more and more I work with, even the larger yacht section, to them it's just another thing on there. It's like us having another bag in the wardrobe.
Yeah.
For some of them, which in retrospect of the value of it, it
It
is.
is, yeah.
So some of the reasons why they have something or is because it was funny to just buy it. And that's to me, I'm like,
And because
oh,
they can.
yeah, and when you've
Simple.
got all the money in the world, all you've got is stories.
Yeah.
And that kind of like, why do you buy that coat over that other coat? Well, if it had a better story, like it was worn by a man and suddenly it was the last thing, you kind of suddenly go, oh, I want that coat instead of that
Yeah.
one. That was just a coat.
No, sure.
So I think that's part of why and what going forward is to make the yachting industry understand that it can't just be, oh, it's big and there's a pool and there's features.
Well, they're all big with pools, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're all big, floating,
Yeah.
spas, gyms, pools, cinemas. So you're right. You've got to sell the dream
Yeah.
and make that client imagine what their life will be like on that boat. What memories are they going to make? What
Mhm.
can they do with their friends and families? So it is actually selling the concept, not the actual item.
Yeah, and I think what's sad is that industry hasn't been good at going outside its own industry because, there's two reasons why yachting is in the press, and that's on that garish sort of party level, sort of celebs and stuff. But actually, I said, the bigger the yacht, probably more boring the owner is
Yeah.
actually because they're a serial businessman, and if you were, just talking coming back from San Francisco, that people don't drink. They're obsessed with work. It's not cool to,
Yeah. It's all
they
about wellness and
it's all
clothing.
about being on top of trends
Yeah.
and being really good at your job. But
Yeah.
I think that actually the majority of charters are family charters.
Yeah.
It's not that, the sort of
I
what's
think
it?
it's a minority
Yeah,
now, isn't it?
yeah,
Whereas before it was definitely a majority,
yeah,
whereas, and also probably the age of the charterer is less. And like you say, now people between 20 and 35 are into wellness and
yeah.
gym
We're
and
in gym.
biohacking.
But
Exactly. In a great, yeah, in an environment. Yeah, no, agreed, agreed. Okay, so you've contributed to multiple panels, forums, webinars with your expertise and knowledge on digital marketing and AI. What do you see as the major challenges for brands, for face to face, producing marketing and content in our industry now?
I think there's a huge bot farm problem. Um, people buying engagement, and I think the people have to understand everyone's stats are going to be down
Can you just
because
explain
what a bot farm
but
is.
for yeah, and also what engagement is for someone maybe who doesn't understand, because it's a conversation that I've had multiple times in the last few weeks on LinkedIn with
Mm.
people in my office about how engagement works and why it's so important compared to actual numbers.
There's two metrics when you're looking at social, because it's also based on nationality. So American were more likely to like or comment on a post than say a British person.
Oh, that's
Because
interesting.
and so like if you've got an American brand, you're more likely to get engagement for the way that the Americans are on social, just in
Right.
general
Hmm.
consumers. Whereas a British person could like it, but they don't need to like the post. They almost just they like it in their head and they go,
Yeah, and
cool.
scroll
Yeah,
past.
and scroll past. So engagement is a hard thing sometimes to measure. And then you've got the idea of, people obviously manipulating engagement. So um, if you're an influencer, and obviously the stats are down, right, globally, like we're going through a bit of a social media recession
Right.
because there's a fatigue naturally because it's old,
Yeah.
and people have sort of gone up and down, and the world's a bit on fire. So
Hmm.
people are like, don't generally they don't want to be on social because they see the news, and people worry about their jobs because of AI.
Yeah.
And then you've got AI that's come in and, created a new influencer, which is the fake videos, and people get annoyed about it. Some people love it. And the platforms generally are struggling because they've got this AI thing that they're all trying to win, the AI race. And then you've got this historical social media platform that you made all your money on that you need to keep alive.
Yeah.
So there's this almost like, oh, where do we put the investment? We need to keep the people engaged, and we don't have anything. But we also need to win this AI race. So you
Yeah.
can see, and I follow obviously all the tech news. Just been in San Francisco, and you can see the battle like happening. Where they're sacrificing, and they've just had like crazy amount of cuts. So when you look at engagement, it's hard to say now what is valuable, and also the people who engage it's quality over quantity. But when you're buying bot farms because maybe you did have 1 million views 2 years ago and someone's bought a post off you, they expect the same. And then so what they're doing is inflating the numbers. So as an industry, we are not good at auditing. So people get shocked when I produce audits and like, oh, that person's got 40%, that's all fake. But why? I'm like, yeah, but this is really standard in the hotel industry because in the hotel industry, they don't give influencers rooms unless they can prove that the followers are real.
Right. So they would audit an
Yeah,
influence.
yeah, yeah. Most agencies will never take an influencer on unless there's been an audit. They will never take them
Wow. But in
matching.
our
No,
industry,
it's completely foreign. But also, you've got to think some of the players in it have also used the same mechanics, right? Because, and it's not their fault, because actually when you sell a brand, oh, by the way, 40% is fake, it's a historical problem where there's
Yeah.
been a social media manager or a digital person who got given the job, probably not their expertise, you know, bought
Given a
into,
target that you
yeah,
had to hit.
and they
you
just
know,
went,
oh,
I'll just buy 20,000 of
Yeah.
Mexicans,
Yeah.
and it's sat on the account and you can't remove
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right?
Who's never seen a super yacht ever before.
And then it screws with your analytics, because then suddenly I'm in a reporting presentation. I go, oh, and we've got 20,000 Mexicans. They just stay there.
Yeah.
And then they don't grow, but they don't, well, some decrease because obviously
Yeah.
they get deactivated. And they're like, well, should we invest in Mexico? It seems like no,
Oh, no.
we shouldn't. But, and it's hard because, there's software.
You've then got to communicate that to the client that maybe
Yeah.
someone before hasn't done a great job.
Yeah, and
which
it's
is
hard because
difficult.
people have been in this industry for a long time and they go, well, it's not my fault. I didn't know they were doing that, because, they get defensive. But it's like, okay, but let's just see what we're doing now. But I think as, budgets are getting cut in the yachting industry all over the place, I think they are getting smarter in the marketing teams on digital. So they're looking at like, okay, well, we did that last year and we got nothing from it.
Yeah.
And then, that means that people are scrambling for what does work.
Yeah.
And I think after speaking to all the brokerage houses in the last few weeks, that no one seems to be that confident of what the future is or answer is to get leads, because that's all brokers care about. And
Yeah,
not
of
clients care,
course. Yeah,
which
because
is
that's how they make a business. Sure.
but then that's also what, Sam Altman said, I don't know what the future is, but I'm trying to be optimistic. So you're like, oh, even you don't know. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I want to go on to this. So let's go on to AI. But before we go through my notes, tell me, where have you been? Because what a trip.
I know, it's really surreal, to the point you're like, have I won the lottery or is someone trying to scam me? And you're like, sort of that moment, it was like, is this real? Is
So
it
you got invited.
Yeah. So basically, I applied to. I always, oh, I had this thing. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll apply. And I didn't think any months went by. And I got an email, and then they followed up and said you have to confirm within 7 days. And I went,
God, you saw it.
so I checked the email. It's not like, something funny. And then I was like, oh, I think this is a thing. And then anyway, and then, okay, cool. Yeah, you're set. And here's what I was like, oh, right. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm
what
going.
was the invite?
So
for?
it was one day for this developer day, and then
in
the
San
second day,
Francisco, invited by OpenAI.
yeah. And then the second day was like sessions. So there was one that was like sort of part not public, because you had to be approved
Right.
/ in their systems. And then there was a second part that was like, oh, these some sessions, and this, because I was like, I'm not really a developer,
Yeah.
but it was super interesting. I've been to developer days before. And there's a weird marketing crossover when you work in social media, because you can obviously develop and build in paid social, without getting too technical because I'll lose everyone, where you're kind of classed as a developer, but I don't see myself as a developer. So there's that crossover, which is the same with AI. I obviously build agents. I'm doing AI, building websites with AI, but I can code, because obviously that's the IT stuff that my background, but I don't see myself as
a developer in that sense.
So then when I got there, I was like, oh, it's because I'm a woman, because 90% of the room was men. And then the more it went on, I realized that in the end, the future is nonsense. And hear me out when I say that, is that people with ADHD, which is like me, I'm very ADHD, will see things, and you've seen obviously things on social, but an AI can't predict what my next move's going to be.
Yeah.
So, like, if you've got two businesses selling shoes, and you say to an AI, okay, analyze my competitor, tell us what they might do for the winter sale. It will probably tell you, oh, they'll probably cut here, and maybe they'll do a campaign here. And by the way, this is trending, so maybe you can do something around this. But someone with creative ADHD brain, let's say, might go, well, we'll just burn it in the street. And so one of the things was that he said, how is it going? And it was really interesting from a social level, because I can be social and I cannot be social. I pick my moments. Sometimes how many drinks I have, and then I'm like, oh, I love socializing. Then really it's not. And he goes, and I said, oh, well, like Harry Potter believes in magic. Let's see. He goes, what? I was like, and I said, oh, Harry Potter believes in magic. Let's see. And he goes, see, this is it. We could never predict you were going to say that. That's like ridiculous. Like, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think. But then I
Yeah.
sort of got what it was. And obviously applying helped. And I've been doing AI
Yeah.
before it was trending.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did a lot of the AI dolls, which everyone keeps, and then became an actual trend. Like obviously
Yeah, I
people could do
remember.
it. Um,
So
and
you'd sort of been handpicked then to go because they
yeah, well,
valued
within
your
the
ADHD creativity. That
well, there was creatives picked, and it was based on just having a preview of what they had planned. So they obviously understand that creatives are the ones that will not lead AI. That's kind of and how to say it? It's like the next businesses are going to be creative led, not safe led,
yeah,
because they can almost see gaps in the market where an AI can't,
yeah,
in a way. So there's a weird element where you're like, am I the chosen one? But it's also, I think, if an AI can be a filmmaker, can be the best therapist, can be, all these things, then a human really has to be creative and has to be human.
yeah,
Because that's what an AI can't be. And
mm,
creativity is a wide of actually doing the tools and making a photo, but there's also thinking the idea that's pinning together so many things from so many different places and then coming up with something new.
yeah. So
Um,
you were picked then.
yeah, I was selected. I mean, I
That's
applied and then I was
amazing.
selected in my application, so it was
That's
amazing.
unbelievable.
But I think in the same element, um, it's it's also me being super nerdy because I like that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
So absolutely immersed. It was hard with the time difference because I had
yeah,
to wake up early to then see clients and then obviously
yeah. Sure, work doesn't stop
yeah,
when you're away.
yeah.
But you came
But
away feeling optimistic.
oh, I came away with a bazillion more ideas than normal and a bit more of a philosophical look on AI because one of the key things at OpenAI, which I thought was quite surprising, was they have these old phone booths in at this big place that they had that they were hosting us. I was like, oh, right. And it's to remind the developers and the team and everyone that it is just a tool for
Yeah,
communication. That you pick up a phone and you call someone, it's what you say on the phone that matters and the person you're
yeah,
calling, and what you prompt and what you come up with and what you decide is the outcome is
sure.
still. So the fact they had so much old technology in the building, like the actual old BT phone booths, I thought was like what I came with, because everyone goes, oh, so what new feature? And I went, it wasn't really like that. It was more to remind that it's still a human thing.
Tool. Yeah,
Like, and one of the examples was we all have iPhones, we all have cameras, but we're not photographers.
yeah,
You choose to be a photographer.
yeah,
Even, when the iPhone kept putting an extra pixel on every launch
yeah.
on the phone, photographers I know was like, oh, that's it, end of my job, but we still hire a photographer
No, sure.
because it's not that we're hiring, is it?
Yeah.
So
I
I think
think
that's the same with AI.
thanks for watching this episode so far. We have some great guests coming up, and we wouldn't want you to miss any of those future episodes. So please don't forget to click the subscribe button and enjoy the rest of this episode. And every other tool that we've utilized, whether it be a phone or camera or whatever, that we've actually learned to integrate into our lives. So if
Hmm.
we perhaps look at it that way, rather than being frightened that it is going to replace us, actually it would be the same as us using a laptop. What did we do
Yeah.
before laptops or iPads or whatever? And we're all still here using them to assist our lives as opposed to replace, although I wouldn't mind if it replaced my job. I'd be quite happy. Right. Okay. So AI then. There are a lot of people who are worried about AI. In the news every day, we hear about
Mm.
jobs being replaced. And what do you think are the misconceptions in the super yacht industry with AI? First of all, why is no one using AI? Help me with this. I don't understand it. In an industry
They
like
are.
ours, but not so obviously.
No.
In our industry, we have only people with large budgets, and the main companies that push along our industry have budgets that it surprises me that people aren't using AI more. Is it because there aren't enough people like you who can help us utilize it in the marketing and then advertising? Or is it just that we're a bit old fashioned and the whole
I think
industry needs a cheery up?
I think it's fear. I also think the industry's gone in the wrong direction some way because as we are, I'd say 6 years behind the world on a consumer level marketing because we're going through everyone's like, oh, well, let's invest loads in social media. Because I actually think that now we need to scale back
Yeah.
and be more targeted because, now your clients are more of a target. Now there's more fraud than ever. Now I don't want brokers to potentially have an Instagram account
Yeah.
unless they can manage it properly
Yeah.
because there's been loads of problems with hacking.
Hmm.
And actually, the number one concern of privacy is family office concern.
So you actually think social media is doing a sort of 180 in the sense
Yeah.
that maybe 5 years ago it was all about
Yeah, yeah,
social
yeah. I think
media
it's
and now.
totally beneficial. And now
And is that because there's so many more platforms now as well? I mean,
no, I think it's just privacy and the fact that people can take your image and make a fake AI video of you. The more they know about you, what your living room looks like, what inside your yacht looks like, the more that
yeah,
they could then potentially con someone because the level of video AI is now so you could never be able to tell if that was one thing that was shocking. Sam Altman talking about how his face then became 300,000 videos of
hmm,
him, and he said it was weird for a few minutes, but then
yeah,
it's just you just go, well, that's the norm now, and
yeah,
actually it's not going away, and you need to tell your older parents or grandparents or anyone saying if you get a video of me, it might not be me now,
yeah.
and it's an education point.
Where do you draw the line between authentic experience in real life and digital enhancements in your content and campaigns? And can you give an example when AI has significantly improved the results with your engagement?
I did the Edmiston hot air balloon, which I think was the first CGI in our industry. It was 3 years ago now. Yeah, 3 years ago. People thought it was real. What was interesting is that like people, because it's so busy at boat show, people just thought they missed it, including their own brokers. So
It was that
it was
real that.
more that, but I look back and I think it was. But then again, if someone's like looking back at old films and going, I was scared of that CGI of that T-Rex.
Yeah.
Like what the hell? It's clearly fake. But I think, and then also it being such a, people go, oh yeah, I saw it, and people like, because you always the FOMO effect, like, well, it wasn't real, sadly. The comment section was actually quite
That's
entertaining.
amazing.
So I think that's where it hands. But then I don't believe, now we're going into AI where there's these boat fires and people, exploding boats, and I've kind of stayed clear of that because it's just I don't think that's beneficial.
No,
It's
sure.
just clickbait. I don't think people want to see yachts on fire. It's just
No,
fake news,
there's
and
enough of those in
that's
real
where
life. So,
and then I think that's where the hazard is for some big accounts where they're pushing this, and I don't think that's valuable to anyone, but it's
sure.
good for your engagement, I guess, which is
Sure.
where the engagement of this false mentality is like, oh yeah, you had 10 million average views, but
Mm.
was it 9 million of a fake AI?
And was it even someone who's interested in what you're selling?
Yeah,
Because it could
exactly.
just be some person scrolling and they like boats and they'll
Yeah,
never be interested in your product and they'll never
and
work
that's
with you.
most
But
of the
yeah,
boat enthusiasts. And I think, looking at like walkthrough videos and stuff, does someone who's not got much time and just wants to get to the point, and I always think about that when I'm looking at, homes, it's real estate. I just want to see what the rooms look like
yeah,
as fast as I can.
yeah,
And then I also want to just I understand there's a narrative and story, but I think sometimes we've gone too far. It's like, oh, we want to. It's almost them doing it is fun and us not watching it is fun,
yeah.
depending on the person doing it. But I think that's
And you
also
only have a certain amount of time to get that person's interest in the video for them to stick with the video.
yeah, yeah. And
So,
you're talking about the people who've got probably the most time poor people.
yeah,
A minute of their time is costs quite a lot of money.
definitely.
So I think that also blows my mind of, what is the reality this is actually delivering for you.
Yeah. So what about skepticism and resistance? So when you're working with clients, you're bringing some very original ideas. Have you faced a lot of pushback?
Luckily, most of my clients trust me to the point I sometimes go, "Am I allowed to do this?" Like, "No, no, we've hired you for a reason. You can do that."
Oh,
Right,
wow.
okay.
Okay. Are
And
you really saying
I'm
someone stop me? Because I'm not sure if I
no,
should be doing
no, and then I almost sometimes I actually go, "No, no, we're not doing this. Actually, it was a bad idea." So I actually can
check
my own
yourself.
ideas. Um, yeah, I did something recently for Halloween, and I was like, "Actually, this is not a good idea. We're canning it." And it's like, "Oh, no, 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 it's not going out."
At least you can
Yeah,
check yourself though on the
yeah,
ideas. I guess that if you are super creative, that there is a point where actually to sort of check in on the creativity and be like, that's a cool idea, but actually, is it going to deliver what I need it to deliver?
yeah.
And you've got to find that balance.
I think also, like sometimes you look back at old campaigns, I was like, that was crap. Like, what
Do
was it doing?
you?
Yeah, I don't like looking at my old things because I'm like, I could have done that better. Oh, I had a
But
bad
could
day
you have
there.
done it better at the time with the tools that you had? Because obviously every week, month, year, AI is getting better and all the tools
Oh,
you're
it's
using.
really hard.
So if you look back 3 years ago and look at a project, you maybe could do it better today, but at the time you would have been able to do
Yeah.
it better. And you are a perfectionist. We've spoken
Well,
about
it's
this
just
before. So that's
I'm
a
baiting
difficult
my
thing.
life.
Sometimes you just got to press the button and make it live, haven't you? And
Yeah, and I think I mean, I'm late on the project right now, and it's only because of me. I decided to change something. They were happy, and I went, no, 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 we can do it better. And I'm like, this is why some of these projects are loss making because I just spent 2 days adding something that they didn't even want, but it does make it better.
then you
So
feel happier with
yeah,
that amendment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
And I think that's also, I mean, I did the animation for the 150th anniversary for Lursin,
Which
which
is
nearly
an
killed
amazing.
me.
I've showed everybody
Uh,
because that is
yeah, that was a
so
labor of love.
beautiful.
They didn't ask for that. And I just was like, but how can we not use photos?
Yeah.
Because you go then ask for obviously all of the photo rights, and then also know that a lot of the yachts don't have footage, but but make sure everyone is included since
Mm. The
the
start.
start, and then not make it feel jarring that it's
So how did you
so
do the early so to anyone who hasn't seen it, it's this amazing video which I saw and I was like, that is what I would love, to be able to create and put out. And it's a vision through time of all
mm,
the lesson boats, but they sort of they're
merge.
drawn by a pencil, it looks like, and then they merge together in the most beautiful, seamless way. It must have taken hours to
Yeah,
make.
it was a labor of love.
So how did you get
Um,
the images? Are they from drawings from last?
so no, I produced all the drawings, uh,
Okay.
which was one task, and then I then so I had to take the images, put them into an AI, and put them into hand drawn
Right.
drawings, and then I had to cut them out. I then had to then put them into an AI so that one went to the other seamlessly.
So a different AI
Yeah.
agent then for that.
And then to then keep going, but then making it feel like it's all, so then put it into Premiere. So I had like 200 mini animations, and then to then mask it all so it all looks consistent. But I look at that and I go, there's something wrong there, there's something wrong there. So I can't watch it anymore. Because I had I had a very strict deadline, which I hadn't slept in like 2 days because I
Oh
was still
my
making
goodness.
adjustments. And then I was like, I was like, I can't, you've got to take it away from me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
sure.
said
Because
to
you
them,
just keep going and going.
I keep selling, but Claire, it's fine. No, 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 no. I said,
So
yeah,
how long did it take you from the moment you started? So you've got the idea. Are we talking like 2 weeks?
yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And I couldn't, obviously I was doing other things in between, but I think it's almost like I sort of, I didn't know my process until I started doing it. I went, well, if I kind of use this, and it's never one software. Everyone always, like the Monaco Yacht Show one I did where it went through time of Monaco Yacht Show.
Yeah.
I had to go through the archive of the internet, which is my favorite place to hang out on the internet.
That's where
Because
we'll
I
find
go,
Claire.
yeah, that's where I found my
Hanging
time
out.
on a Saturday night. Because I like to look at the old websites of Fraser
Yeah.
and Monaco Yacht Show. And I downloaded all of the screensavers they used to give away
Yeah.
on the old Monaco Yacht Show website of 2000. And that's where I got some of the posters, and then Listen had their own posters as well. And then that's when I animated it all.
So that's another
So
video that you did, which is also
yeah,
lovely for Monaco Yoga
yeah,
Shows. All of basically the posters throughout
yeah.
time.
Since they
And
start,
again, they sort of go through and mold through together
yeah,
seamlessly. And they
yeah.
look,
But
yeah,
that looks now better than the AI one I did. Although I should say,
Larson. The
because
naked eye, the normal person looking at the Larson one will only see what I see and how amazing it is. Only you look at it.
but I almost want to
Sorry.
redo it now that the AI's got better. Which I mean, I was saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Oh, but then also now, because I'm very strict with this, which was the problem with the Edmiston hot air balloon. Someone sees it and then they go, well, I want that. And I'm like, no, because that's their thing now.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard about ideas, is that people go and see something and go, well, can't you just that? And I have a very strict rule that if I use it for one client, I
Yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to use it for
sure.
others.
No,
And it's
also the
hard
things
because I
you're
want to make money
doing-
too. So I
Yeah.
could sell the same thing to everyone.
But the thing is, the
But
ideas you're coming up with, because they are so different, it would be immediately obvious that
Yeah.
it had been copied from
yeah,
wherever. I mean, not that anyone could copy those two poster ideas. It would obviously take them weeks.
someone will.
I'm still trying to find someone who's capable of doing it, to copy the ideas that you've put out. But I mean, the ideas are all different. Everything now, I see something and I think it's you.
The issue with AI is obviously everyone can sort of take something, and that's what the big problem in the creative industry is with music or
Sure.
art. And obviously everything's inspired from somewhere, right? I'm not the first to do anything, but then it's like, where does it stop and where does a creative get paid? But I think being at AI and being at this is that, like back to the iPhone, everyone's got an iPhone with a camera, but not everyone's a photographer.
No,
So,
sure.
of course someone could go and do that with posters and I could tell them exactly how to replicate it. But
Yeah.
most people don't want to.
No, no.
They
true.
don't want to be
I think they
creative.
might like the idea of replicating it, and then they'd maybe try and see how much work went into it, and then realize it's not for them.
Yeah.
Because I think from the outside, a lot of the things that that
Yeah.
you've created look amazing, but no one would even consider how long that would take to create.
And people have said, oh, but it's just AI. No, it took weeks.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, yeah, using AI, but it's like also, AI is expensive.
yeah.
Right?
And you're
Like,
using multiple different
yeah,
platforms and
I mean,
agencies. And you
I,
have to train it, right? You don't just
yeah, it's,
make this video of 150 different versions of a lesson. There you go.
and it
Mm.
doesn't always work. So you have to do it multiple. I have there's one particular yacht we had a very bad photo of, and that was the only photo, of course, because they're very secretive. And I just was to the point I was like, I'm gonna go and get my old drawing stuff and just draw it myself, because AI just couldn't
Couldn't get what you
yeah.
wanted.
And I was like, no, let's persevere. And I've got about 10 of them on my laptop.
So there you go. So there are limitations with
Yeah.
AI, even in the
No,
creative
of course.
way. So, okay, so what AI tools and platforms are you currently excited to be working with or plan to use in the future, which are going to enhance your process and production of your content and material?
They're changing every day. Like my biggest expense is software. I
Right.
spend more money on software than I spend on my own rent,
Oh,
which that's hard. And it's like $2,000 above. I
really?
hope my parents are not watching this. I don't spend that much money. They don't understand what I do. So, um, but but yeah,
They will after
it's
this, hopefully.
oh no, God, no. My mum and dad don't have any interest. They just want me to go and work at Tesco, because then at least they get discount on
Well, then
the
they'll probably
shopping.
be able to see you as well, because I can't
Yeah,
imagine
yeah,
that
yeah.
so busy.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. But yeah, and because it's changing too much, that at the moment we have I would say five core players. Obviously Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity. And that's also a problem for yachting, right? Because we've probably just gone through the last decade of Google being the 98. As long as you're the front page of Google, you exist as a
Yeah,
business,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And now I think brokerage houses are sort of now going, okay, well, what's all these other things? Now we have to be ranking number one on all these other things, whoever asks, right? And that's going to be an issue because of resource, obviously. But also, if we've just gone through, like, let's say the last decade of quite easy, you're competing an SEO specialist to an SEO specialist at Fraser, to Burgess, let's say. And now you're competing against an AI and trying to work out an AI on how that's ranking you.
Yeah.
And you've got to basically be smarter than the AI to wonder what they're ranking and then almost be that, right? So when you're looking at softwares, I use all of them. because I don't want to pigeon. No one, obviously, OpenAI is the leader right now,
Yeah.
but it's changing so rapidly and so regionally because some nations, because of privacy, obviously EU, ChatGPT in EU is completely different to ChatGPT in England and ChatGPT in US
America, yeah.
because you the way the user can use it is there's more regulations in EU. I actually had when I went to Germany to carry on doing the animation for the Burton project, I opened my AI and I couldn't use it and I nearly had a breakdown because I was like, it's not working. What the hell? Because EU had blocked
Oh my
that
goodness.
feature and I had access to it in the UK and I didn't realize. So then I was like, oh my God. So I had a absolute heart attack and had to get a VPN and it worked. I was like, thank God.
Gee. Thank God for
But
the VPNs, that and Netflix.
yeah, but it's just to say that our AIs are so different.
Mm. So you're constantly investing then,
All my money.
yeah, in the software. Okay, so as a creative, how do you then pick who you work with and who you don't
Well,
work with?
I've
And
learned
when are you going to work with me?
I've learned that I mean all of my clients are like my family. Like I genuinely say this that I speak to some of my clients as if they're my second dad and my brokers worry about if I've eaten today because I've spent too long on the computer.
Oh,
And I
that's
think
nice.
that it's so hard even financially for me to leave them because I just feel like it's so nice. I mean, I
Yeah. But
genuinely
would
but I
you
need to
leave
do
if
certain
you say, do you ever get to a point like with a client where you say, do you know what? I actually feel like I've reached a bit of a plateau,
Yeah,
a bit
which
of a limit.
happened recently actually. I had to let go of some clients. Sorry if you're watching this. You know I love you. Because I don't like not bringing value and I
Yeah.
think
That's
like
what I
I
mean. So
said,
do you feel that? You
yeah,
have
yeah,
that
yeah.
self-awareness
No, I
to
do.
be
I
like,
do.
oh, I've
I
done
let
my bit.
yeah, and I also will not invoice if I don't think I've felt value. Like one of my clients was like, "You haven't invoiced this month." I said, "Yeah, but I don't think I did anything." Yeah, but you've obviously over delivered. But that's also my issue because I always think, everything should have an ROI. Also drummed into me from the hotel industry because
Yeah.
you could not do a campaign without an ROI on it, and you
Yeah.
had to say, "I'm going to sell these for my
Because I
free."
guess in the hotel industry, there's a mass
Yeah,
debrief of actually what business
yeah, yeah,
that
and that's the
campaign
best
was
way to
brought
learn.
in.
Actually, I would never take away them years because I might think of something and then go, "Oh, that was nice," and then you look at the actual conversion, you're like that was awful. Like it was too creative.
Yeah.
There's
People
there's a
didn't get
level,
it
right? They
or
didn't get it. I was too obscure. And actually, the best feedback is bad feedback because the only feedback you learn from. And
100%.
I learned
Yeah.
that in the ad agency and starting off in an ad agency, you cry every day if you're at a proper one. You really do. You think you're the worst creative ever. You go home and you go, because you just have emails from clients that don't know that you're seeing them as the junior going, you're shit. What the hell is this? Sorry, sorry. But then you go, yeah, they were right. That was crap. Like,
Okay. So then
because
that would push you then to be like, I can do
yeah, yeah, and
better.
then you get better faster
Yeah.
because, I was only a junior, so of course it was rubbish.
Yeah.
I looked at my old edits and I was like, that went out. Interesting. The first thing I ever edited was for one of the Jubilees, and it was Kate Middleton lookalike for Benefit. Don't find it online because it's very
I'm
bad.
going online immediately.
I feel bad. Probably shouldn't say that, but anyway, but it was terrible. It was too many transitions. I didn't know what I was doing editing because I just thought, oh, there's an effects menu and I'll just put loads of transition. It's like, oh my God. But it went out and it was fine.
And probably the client were happy with it.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought it was the first time I'd ever in Premiere and I just was like, okay.
All these new tools. I'm just going to
I
use them all
watched
in one
YouTube
in
to
one
learn
video.
and that was it. And that's the other thing is that people are like, how do you know all this stuff? I was like, I literally sit on YouTube and I learn. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think
And you can now. So actually, if people are frightened of AI or they're
yeah,
wondering how they
we
can
were in the
utilize it,
best
you can just
place.
go on YouTube
Yeah,
and
I learn every day. I don't ever even say even on my LinkedIn people are like, oh, say you're an expert in AI. I'm like, no, because no one is. and it's hard because people are like, oh, you probably know more than most people. And I'm like, yeah, but I think AI is so new. I'm always skeptical when anyone says they're an expert in it because
yeah.
I genuinely, even that I was like, oh God, I do know a lot, don't I? And then I was thinking, but I still wouldn't say I was an expert
Yeah.
because it's changing so often regionally, software wise, is so different that
And the use of
it's
it, the
impossible.
way
And how
people,
you apply
yeah.
it, right? I've met people that specialize in just automation. Um, but obviously I'm a creative, so I use it in a different way. But then, I can do automation, but I'm not like when you talk about yachting industry, we should be automating everything from there should be a 24-hour call center for every brokerage house
Yeah.
because it's global. It blows my mind that there's not someone you can call and it's based on regional offices,
Yeah.
which obviously doesn't help if, they speak different languages. The AI could easily be, that kind of thing, but then put touch in it with a human, or there could be,
Yeah.
ways that we make sure the clients with AI are looked after or figure out, from chats or
Mhm.
whatever, and then, put in touch with the right person. And also mystery shopping, no one does that in the industry. You should be auditing
Yeah.
yourself, fake client, obviously, goes through the process of booking a chart. I did it for a client, and it was shocking about how every brokerage house sort of failed.
Really?
Because
That's such a good point, actually.
we spend all this
Auditing yourself.
money
Yeah.
on the golden egg. For me, marketing, I'm like trying to, reinvent the wheel. We spend all this money on the golden egg of a new client. A new client finally makes a lead, and then a broker doesn't answer, or
Mm.
it falls off a cliff, or no one, because you don't just buy a yacht. It's like 6 months of broker
Yeah. Yeah.
contact, everything.
Relationship
Yeah,
building and process and
or
yeah.
they couldn't make that show to see that boat. Did anyone go back to them? Is there
Yeah.
an automation in house to remind you, because you're not superhuman, remind all these client
Yeah.
points, but the automates, oh, you haven't replied to that person in 5 days.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of it, especially in yacht management. There's a lot of things that you could definitely, but it's still being human. It has to be with a human touch.
Yeah, but you can have the human touch, but be supported by AI.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah, yeah.
conversation we're actually having live at the moment in our office because I just feel that rather than being frightened, I want to learn more and embrace it because anything that makes my life easier, I'm all up for. I can't understand why anyone wouldn't want an easier life if they
Oh,
could
no,
have
no, no.
one.
It's
So,
and also, just on the point of AI, there's this thing about why when we order an Uber, when we say the wait time, we automatically fine. But that's why Uber won, because they knew that seeing that car in that animation and seeing how far it was, even if it wasn't 5 minutes, it was now 10.
yeah,
And that makes you feel more easy. So
yeah,
in yachting, one of the frustrations from the owner's side that I've heard is that you call a charter broker and you don't know when you're going to get,
a call back.
a call back from the
Yeah,
captain, or to
yeah,
know about the availability for that week. And it's that uncertainty. If we can almost even say, oh, by the way, it's a 3 days max,
yeah.
auto response.
Yeah, and also that person, normally that client, like you said earlier, is super time poor,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really used to waiting, and certainly not used to people saying no. So that whole not knowing is a frustration, isn't it?
But that's built into marketing as well.
Yeah.
It should be marketing's job. Although
Okay.
anyway, yeah.
Are there any dream brands that you would like to work with because you love what they do, or you think that would be a great brand to give a marketing refresh to? Maybe not in the yachting industry, we
No,
don't upset anyone.
McDonald's. My dream is to work at
Oh,
McDonald's. Yeah,
really?
I love McDonald's so much. I actually nearly
Brand
created
or
brand and the marketing, and I've, I've read entire. I could write a dissertation on McDonald's and the marketing of
really?
it, and the everything from psychologically, why the menu is the way it is, to internationally.
So you'd like to
Then I
give it
love
a
it.
refresh?
Not a refish. I'd just quite like to do a marketing campaign. I did one for KFC when I was at the ad agency. I was like, why not McDonald's? Just because I just obsessed. I love it. I love it. I nearly created an Instagram saying I'm loving it, because it was just my love for McDonald's marketing. And I when I feel sad, I go look at their Instagram, because I just
To
sort of
cheer
like,
you up.
yeah, just because they always just think of such smart things that you can apply to anything.
Oh, that's really I had to have
Um,
a look. That's really
yeah,
interesting.
I'm a big fan of.
Okay, McDonald's, if you're listening.
Yeah, please.
Well, me in the queue first and then McDonald's. Okay, let's do a couple of quick fire. What's the favorite campaign you've seen in the super yacht industry? It can be your own to make
No,
it
no.
easy.
I liked. What did I see? I think I'm a big fan of generally certain things like Jared Watney's whole Ocean Air Media.
Y-
IWC's, like, since they've been a partnership, it's been amazing, and I know Steve really well, and they've done some amazing things. I think Ocean Co with the photographer was really cool. Um, I loved all of the creativity on that.
Yeah.
Um, ooh, ooh, ooh.
What about
God.
your favorite campaign in the yachting industry ever?
what that I've done,
Yeah.
I can't. They'll kill me. I can't even name. I mean, I think there's a couple that technically I said I would do, and I went, how the fuck do I do that? Because I said it in a meeting and I went, shit, I've got to commit to this. And it was the one where Kismet went backwards
Right.
through all the locations for a seasonal campaign to be like, wherever you are.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't know how I was going to make that happen
But
when
was
I
it your
said it.
idea?
Yeah, it was my
So
idea.
you came up with the idea, pitched it to the client. They
Well, I
agreed.
said it in
Then
a
you
meeting
thought,
as
oh,
an idea, and then they loved it. And I went, I don't actually know how I'm going to make that. So that was, and I actually finished it on Christmas Day to the stress of the rest of
oh
the team
my
because
goodness.
I still was working out how, to the stress of my ex-boyfriend now as well, because I worked Christmas Day to make it happen. Because I genuinely didn't know how I was going to do it. And it was the Christmas Day post, which was
Oh my goodness. So
approved Christmas
you
Day.
finished it on Christmas
Yeah.
Day and it went live on Christmas Day. Wow, love that to the Y.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one
s-
tool you can't live without as a digital marketer?
Um, books, if that's stupid to say. I'm trying to read every week, marketing books, because what I don't want to be is too obsessed with the software that I forget what the human psychology of marketing is. So I try and read, because I think they're the tools that then I use the AI with, right? I
Yeah.
think, and I also think it's super important to read a book in general now that, and also do something mentally with your mind. That, so I'm trying to learn all sorts of kind of things, like trying to learn to whistle, I'm trying to learn the piano, I'm trying to learn, because it's like,
With all your spare time.
well, yeah. So because I think it's important to still
Yeah, of course.
um
And do other things
yeah, yeah,
apart
yeah.
from
That
AI.
they're also, and I'm starting to draw again, because I think that's where I think still using, or I'm starting to write again with a pen and paper, because I was like, oh my god, I haven't wrote something, and I was
Yeah.
going, oh my god, my writing's still terrible, but it's even worse now than it was. But I think that's really important for everyone, actually, is that
Yeah. So you
you're
find
not
that
too
keeps
much.
you fresh then
Yeah,
doing creative stuff.
and really reading old school marketing books, because when you think about, the 5 billboards to sell out of the movie, which was like a 1950s rule that you had to have 5 different messages to sell out the movie, you got 5 billboards, and then they'd go and convert it to a movie ticket. If you just have that principle in your own marketing, that you have to have 5 different reasons to come to you for a service, or then you're already better than 99% of the market.
Yeah, sure. That's
Because
so
just something
true.
simple of a 1950s
Yeah.
psychology of
And actually
how it's
going back and
was.
looking at old school marketing when we didn't have so many tools and so much help, the principles actually
Yeah.
probably we've forgotten a lot of those, which,
Yeah.
like you say, keeping the messaging simple, creating that connection. So yeah, it makes sense going
Yeah, and then applying it to
to what you're
digital.
doing. Okay, so what's next on your calendar? Any events or projects
Well, I
coming
have
up? Or
Turkey
should we
next
get the
week.
list out now?
Yeah, I've got
Oh,
Turkey
you're in
next week.
Turkey, so you're
Yes.
speaking at an event in
Yeah.
Turkey.
Um,
What
uh,
event's that?
the Super Yacht Summit.
Right.
I'm going to start with the funeral march, so that's a hint of what I'm gonna do. I don't know if this is gonna go down well, but I think that's just the reason why they booked me. Um, and then I'm at the Golf Summit
Yeah,
for AI, and I've promised Marine that I'm going to be on my best behavior and
that's
try to
Super
be.
Times.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love them
So
very dearly.
you're speaking at that event
Yes.
also. Interesting. So you're really able to sort of spread the word and share opinions, and so the
Yeah,
yachting
I don't
industry
know
is
why they let me, but
oh, they might not after this.
yeah, exactly.
No, but what I'm saying is it's interesting that now it's becoming a regular at each forum, because there are a lot of events throughout the
Mm.
calendar year, aren't there? And now it's becoming, a regular conversation.
I'll hope to deliver, or at least say something someone thought was okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But I definitely won't be a press release on stage, that's for sure.
No,
I don't know.
I'm sure you're
Yeah.
gonna bring some interesting insights and probably make what might be a less interesting panel much more interesting. Amazing. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Claire. I've enjoyed talking to you. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. So you're definitely gonna have to do a part two. I'm gonna have to book it
yeah.
in now though.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for inviting me. Thank you.